Hey, this is Amir with Implant Depot. Today we have this case that I want to show you real quick. The steps for the new ID Smile surgical guide. And I think this should be a no-bail case. Let's go ahead and walk through it. The thing that I really like to do when we get started, specifically when you're in the office and you get these type of cases, I like to have a sheet of paper and just number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, just like this, and just for us to be able to organize the different steps that we need these guys for. So for any stackable surgical guide, you'll get multiple pieces, multiple guides, and multiple models, and probably a temporary prosthesis just like this one, right? I'll leave the models on the side. You'll always get a model with the teeth and a model when you do the reduction. So it shows you the difference between with the existing teeth and after you reduce the bone, this is how it's gonna look like. So we have 2 models, and we actually, in this case, we have 5 different surgical guides and a temporary. The way that I like to do it is first, when I get these cases, I like to organize them. So the first piece that I'm gonna always use are your base guide, right? This is your base guide. This is what goes and seats. When you lay a flap, this is what seats directly on the patient buccal bone, directly on the patient maxilla arch right here, right? So it seats directly on the bone. This is the first piece. And for you to know where that piece is gonna go, you need to have a tooth-borne verification jig, which is in this point is gonna be that piece. That piece that gets locked in on the patient existing teeth, just like this, right? So it can lock into your base guide and let you know exactly where your base guide is gonna be, right? So your base guide, we're gonna put it on number 1. Your seating guide, we're gonna put it on number 2. The next step is your implant placement guide, which is basically after you seat your guides, you fully seat it, then you extract the patient teeth and reduce the bone. Then you use that implant placement guide to drill and drop your implants. So this is guide number 3. Once you place your implants, you need to start putting your cylinders on top of it. If you have angled multi-unit abutments that are angled, there you have a guide that lets you know where to align your screw axis hole with your base guide. So basically this is piece number 4. After you place your implants, this goes on top on your base guide, just to show you real quick here, to let you know where your screw axis hole is going to be. And basically what you need to do with that is that you align yours. This is your driver. This is a short driver. You align your screwdriver with that hole like this. So basically your screw axis hole in this implant should be here. This implant should be here. This implant, it should be here. This implant, it should be on this side. This implant, it should be on this side. So this is where you align your screw axis hole, or you align your driver on to these notch, right? So this is piece number 4 right there. Then we have, last but not least, is your PMMA carrier. The only reason that we use this piece is that basically it holds a temporary in place. So this is piece number 5, and the temp in that case is piece number 6, or we can call this together is piece number 5 and 6 together. So this is the exact order that you need your surgical guides to be in, and I'd like to have that right next to me on the day of surgery, just for the team to understand the exact order. What are we gonna use it for? So let's do that whole case from start to finish. So again, also you'll have these little metal pins, push pins that we use to lock these guys together. Let's take it step by step. So this is the patient when they come in for surgery, right? The first thing you want to do is you want to lay a flap. You want to lay a flap all the way. It's going to be below the surgical guide. So it's going to be, so you, in this case, you're laying your flap all the way to here. So once you lay your flap, this is how it's going to look like. You seat your guide. As you see, the fitting is perfect. It's actually seated directly on the patient buccal anatomy right there. But are we 100% sure this is in the right position? We're not yet. This is why we have piece number 2, which is our seating guide. Seating guide only job is to go on top of the teeth before you extract it, and it locks in on your patient existing teeth and locks into the base guide. Once you lock it into the base guide, you'll have these pins. You want to go ahead and secure it in place, right? I'm not going to put all pins, but I'm just going to show you how it works. You put your pins in, lock it in all the way. Once you lock your pins, all, in this case, 2, 4, 6, 7, which is a lot of locking for some reason. The designer chose to do it that way, but usually you'll have 3 or 4 of these maximum. But But in this case, you have all of these. So again, once you lock it in, the next step is and basically depends on the implant system and the kits that you have. Will determine what anchor pin you use. So in this case, for this anchor pin, we have a metal sleeve right here where you're gonna go ahead and drill and drop your anchor pins through that hole. So once you put in at this point, it's gonna be 4 anchor pins. 1, 2, 3, 4. At this point, you take your little push pins out. You don't need these anymore. Obviously, at that point, you want to take all 5 or all 7 or all 6 or whatever. Take that guide out, and this will be fully secured into the patient buccal anatomy, right? Next is you want to extract your teeth and reduce the bone to the level of the surgical guide. So you go ahead and do extraction, and you reduce the bone. So now we can switch to the reduced model. Again, keep in mind that this doesn't move. This is stayed secured in from start to finish. So now this is how it's gonna look like. You have your bone flat, you've done with that part. You go to step number 3, which is your implant placement guide. You put your implant placement guide in, just like this. Once you put your implant placement guide in, you go ahead and same exact process. You secure it in with your little metal pins. Put all the pins in. Once you secure it, you go ahead and drill and drop your implants through your surgical guide. And again, keep in mind that you have a drilling sequence that you need to follow that is attached to your, that's in the box. You should follow your drilling sequence sheet. Once you do that part, you take your implant placement guide out. You don't need that anymore. Do we have any pins? Oh, yes, we do. Take that guide out. Again, this is fully secured in the patient bone. And next step is your abutment guide. Abutment guide goes in, locks on top of it. You want to lock it in place, you can. You don't have to do this one specifically because you're only using this guide as a reference, right? As I mentioned before. Now you grab your driver. Unfortunately, I only have the short driver. You go ahead and align it on your screw on this notch. So the notch is here. This gets aligned like this. For this implant, notch is here. So the screw axis hole should be like that. Same thing here. For this one, it's gonna be like this. For this one, it's gonna be like this. So the screw axis hole on your multi-unit abutment should be looking to that marking. Once you do that part, you take it out, your cylinders are in, everything is good to go. Now you're ready to go ahead and do your immediate load PMMA temporary. So we have this nice, beautiful PMMA temporary, and as you easy, sometimes it just gets, because the fitting is perfect, so it gets a little bit stuck, so you want to wiggle it out. Once you wiggle it out, you have your prosthesis, and basically you have a carrier, you attach them together, becomes one piece. Then now, after you have your implants dropped in, your cylinders are attached, your multi-units, the whole 9 yards, you put this on top, lock it into place, put your pins in. Once you put your pins in, your cylinders will be coming out of these holes. Hopefully it will be right in the middle. Once you do so, at that point, you go ahead and, in that case, I would highly recommend to use rubber dam first between the osteotomy and between here. So you don't want to have any of your pickup material end up into the on your prep sites. So basically, you put your rubber dams right here, and once you put your rubber dams, you put this on top, you lock it in place, then you go ahead and start the pickup process through these holes. Once you do so, you go ahead and deattach it, take these off. At that point, once you pick it up, usually it's going to be a little bit more harder to take them out. Some of the material might end up in between, so you gotta be careful with that. You don't have to worry about this. You can break it out. You don't need that anymore. Once you take that out, at that point, you clean that up from the bottom, from all that material. Make sure you finish it up. And then by the time you're suturing, doing any grafting if needed, an assistant, a lab technician, someone's helping you out is at the lab, finishing this up, making it ready. You finish your suture, you graft your patient, then you load that back in directly on your implant sites. So this should explain the whole process from start to finish. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you very much.